Hello and welcome to Forever Cricket on Forever Sports. The Victoria Capitals beating the Sunrise Eastern Cape by 23 runs in the end. A brilliant all-round effort from the away side as they down the home side. Down it at St. George's Park, down in Quebec. And Matt, very first of all, thank you very much for joining me once again. It's been a long evening and lots of weather interruptions and stuff, but we did manage to get a game in, and we did see a very polished performance from Victoria Capitals. Just how impressive were they to you?
Hi, Steve. Yeah, they were. You know what? They were impressive insofar as they did the job and they did the job well. They didn't explode and do blockbuster maneuvers left, right, and center. Yeah, there was a couple of moments here and there, but I mean, Phil Salt, the opener, carried his bat, by the way. 77 not out off 47, which, it's going along at 164 as a strike rate. He set them up to a really nice 193. You do have to say Jimmy Neesham chipped in quite nicely with his 37 off 28, which was really key. And then, of course, Wayne Parnell coming in with a big cameo at the end. That 29 off just 9 deliveries, going along over 300 as his strike rate, setting them up to that 193, which in the end, as we saw, just proved to be that bridge too far. If it had been 180, maybe 175, we'd probably be having a different conversation tonight. But I mean, coming in then with the ball in hand, the men from Pretoria did pretty well. I mean, there was some understated performances. I mean, I look at Ethan Bosch with his 0 for 27 off of his 4 overs. Now that's going at less than 7 over. It's that kind of suffocation, which is very similar to, in fact, what we saw last night with the Joburg Super Kings. That suffocation of the run rate, which is really kind of what got the men from Pretoria over this evening. I think Wayne Parnell's captaincy was very good. I think he brought the right guys in at the right time. We saw NORTJE coming in when they needed the wicket of Tristan Stubbs, who did look like he was ready to tee off. I mean, he made 23, but that 23 came off 11. And we know if you let him go, hell's bells, he will go. So it was excellent captaincy, I thought, from Wayne Parnell. NORTJE deserves a very, very special mention, as we said in the stream. You know, going along 4 overs, 18 runs, 2 wickets, 4.5 and over on an innings, or at least on a crease that we've seen has already conceded 193 runs in the first innings. So it was a fantastic spell from the man. We saw the big guy cranking it up to 155 around there at times. He was putting some serious power into those deliveries. And ultimately, in the end, it was just that tight bowling when we needed the Sunrisers to really kind of open up that I think the excellent bowling from the Victoria Capitals kind of kept them within their shell, and in the end, that was what got them the win.
Yeah, I think it was a case of Sunrise Eastern Cape just always been behind the game. For the first 2 overs, they started pretty well, got 2 early wickets. But from the minute that Phil Salt really settled in and very ably supported by Jimmy Neesham, you felt that once the Victoria Capitals got themselves ahead, they were ahead the entire time. And unfortunately, you can only chase a game for so long. And chasing 194, you've got to have a strong power play. And I think they were sitting on about 27 odd at the end of the power play, and you can't be there. You're chasing. Eddie Markin went out the 7.3 over, and they won 34 runs. So
Yeah.
the power play really killed them. I think the required run rate already up to about 12, 13 by the time they finished the power play and in the 7th over, and by then you're having to strike at 9, 10 over just to stay within reach, which is a lot. And I think a word to John Smuts, an innings of 66 or 51, and he'll be the first to admit it. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a match losing innings because whilst it was a 50 and it had a couple of nice strikes there, far too many dot balls being eaten up, a bit laboured, and unfortunately, because of the struggles in the power play early on, having to try and play catch up all the time, which you can't do. And I think it's a word of warning that you can't afford to get too far behind the game, because despite having players like a Tristan Stubbs who struck at 209, Tom Abel actually finished with a strike rate of 166, and James Fullish finishing the strike rate of 220-25. Those three all last putting in about 90 runs between the last three, and very quickly up front, just far too slow, far too many dot balls being eaten up, and just giving the rest of the order far too much to do. So the question is for Sunrise Eastern Cape, where to from here?
Absolutely, you're right. I mean, John Smuts, you can't be too. I mean, you can be disappointed, but you can't be too disappointed. I mean, the man did hit 66 before he was finally caught by Ethan Bosch or Fadil Rashid's bowling. 66 or 51. Most days of the week, you'll go, you know what, from an opener, that's certainly not a bad innings. But the problem was they didn't play to the occasion very well. I think that was the issue there. As you said, they were always behind. They didn't have any period in the match where they felt like they had kind of put in that little bit of dominance that they needed to do. And I think if you're sitting there and you're a player from Sunrise Eastern Cape, you're probably going to want to do that again next match. You're going to want to, I mean, I would almost say maybe bat first, because you do have some explosive players in the likes of Tristan Stubbs, maybe bat first next time, and let him loose. If he goes on to score 50, his 50 is going to come off 2.5 balls or something. So it's really gonna put the pressure on, and that's what they need to do. I look down their lineup and I go, besides him, fine, we know Tom Abel did very well, but I mean he's a finisher. James Fuller as well, 27 off 12, not bad. Aiden Markram had a forgettable night, 5 off 8. To me, they just didn't feel like they had anyone who was willing to kind of grip it and take the bull by the horns and put them on that front foot. I think for their next game, that's what they need to be looking at. They need to be looking at how can we put the other team under pressure as opposed to us trying to measure our way back into it.
Yeah, 100%, and I think a lot of learnings from this game, and it's not a bad side, Sunrise Eastern Cape, and there were some reasonable performances in there as well. So I wouldn't say it's all doom and gloom. I just think execution wasn't there tonight. At the end of the day, they just with the bowling as well. I think they probably conceded 20 runs too many. Pretty poor in the field, for example. I reckon they're carrying at least about 6 or 7 extra runs just due to pure feeling. So you tighten that up. 194 becomes 187. You bowl a couple of, literally 4 or 5 better balls and reduce the boundaries. You can bring that down to 175 by just being a bit more accurate. And 175, well, you're there. You had 174.5. So, yeah, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think that they are definitely, and sometimes it's nice to have that, to have a game where you don't play well, you still get within 23 runs, and you've got definite areas that you can go to fix. You can wake up tomorrow and say, this is what we have to do better. And then in many ways that's nicer than when you go and you play well and you don't win and you go to the change room going, there's not much we can change. There's definitely things they can change, and it's still very early in the tournament. So yeah, maybe they can still be dark horses, but yeah, I mean from the first sort of 3 days, very quickly, what sort of teams are jumping out at you? If you were to pick 2 early favorites from the first few days, where are you going?
Look, I mean, I think there's nowhere further to look as things currently stand than MI Cape Town. They're looking absolutely fantastic. That opening win that they had over the Paarl Royals, they never looked even for a second like they were out of control. They've got some wonderful hitters. They've got some really just some great players in there. I think they're without a doubt the most kind of impressive looking side. I think you would agree. I mean, they did manage to also pick up that bonus point win. For me, it's kind of a tie between the Pretoria Capitals and the Joburg Supergiants, because they both feel to me like they kind of went about their business in the same way from what we saw last night and tonight, in that they put the runs on the board, they put great runs on the board, and then they bowled just well enough to keep it under wraps, to keep things contained, to keep the run rate pressure, the scoreboard pressure mounting, and even at the end, if they didn't take all the wickets that they could have, they didn't need to. They just that scoreboard pressure was what they did so well. It was that slow poison kind of a victory from them, which is mature cricket. Everyone wants to see wickets and sixes, but at the end of the day, how you get over the line isn't really that important if you get over the line. So for me, both the Pretoria Capitals and the Joburg Super Kings were very mature in their approach to the game. And I think it's something that will probably stand them in good stead. As for MI Cape Town, well, look, I think They're the kind of side. They remind me almost of an RCB Royal Challengers Bangalore from maybe 5 years ago, when we had the likes of AB at his peak and Virat Kohli and them. There's just so much power there that they have that ability. All they need is one or two guys to get off the mark, and that's the match one.
Yeah, well, there we go. Well, it's been exciting first couple of days, and again, already a couple of early favorites, couple of early players standing up, some big money players very much putting their hands up. It's been very exciting day of cricket. Please do come join me again, once again, live tomorrow for some more action. We'll see Matt Young very soon as well. Matt, as always, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
We'll see you guys all very soon. Please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you guys next time.